the one, the only, Ben Good evening and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Just Daf as we continue Daf Yomi Maseches Gittin Daf Mem Vav. I think we're officially more than halfway through Maseches Gittin. Pretty exciting. I like Maseches Kedushin. That's the next Masechta, so I'm excited about that. Let's get started. The Mishnah on Mem Hey and Beis on the bottom. The Mishnah says, "Amotzi as ishto mishum shemra lo yachzir mishum neder lo yachzir." Chazal made a takana. They said if someone suspects his wife of committing adultery, or his wife takes a neder upon himself, it's not good for a wife to take neder upon herself. She says she's not going to benefit from certain foods. And you say, we'll see in the Gemara, you say that that's the reason you're megarish, you're divorcing her for that reason. You cannot go ahead and remarry her. The reason we'll see in the Gemara, the reason you can't go and remarry her is because the husband, oftentimes when he divorces his wife, will get angry at her and he'll try to ruin it. She's going to get remarried. And then he'll say, no, I really didn't mean the gerushin. Because it turns out that you didn't commit adultery. Or it turns out that the nadarim don't bother me. And therefore he could revoke the gerushin. And then you're still married. She's still married to him. And when she's with the second husband, the children are mamzerim. So therefore, they mean exera takana, if you're megarish a woman for these two reasons, you can't get remarried. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, kol neder sheyadu bo rabim liyachzir, sheyadu bo rabim yachzir. Rabbi Yehuda has a different shita. Let's see what the Gemara says. He's not chayish to kalkula. He's not worried about Rameir. Tanakam is Rameir. We'll see. Rameir is worried about kalkula. That's going to end up being a problem that for the wife when she remarries. Yehuda says it's a problem of the darim that. If it's a public neder, we'll see how many people, generally in front of 10 people know about your neder, so you can't be machzir. You can't go ahead and remarry. You can't remarry this woman as a penalty for, because it's a stringent affair that she made a neder in front of 10 people. So it's a penalty that you can't remarry her. But if it's not such a stringent neder, so then you could. Rameir Omer kol neder shesarach hakiras chacham lo yachzir. She'ena sarach hakiras chacham yachzir. Rav Meir, even though we'll see the Tanakh is also Rav Meir is now defining what type of neder. He says any neder which needs chakiras chacham, meaning you have to go to a chacham, to a basin to be matir it, lo yachzir. That you can't get remarried because they're the gzeira, right? He might go to a chacham and matir the neder, and she never neder. I was megarish her for the neder, and I go and matir the neder afterwards. She never had the neder. There was no grounds for divorce. But if it's something the husband's right, can annul himself, or so then they didn't make this gzeira because oftentimes he'll just get rid of himself. So he could get remarried. Amar Belazar lo asru zel himnezel. See, Belazar asru in both cases, whether it needs chakiras chacham or not chakiras chacham. It doesn't make a difference. Belazar actually holds the opposite. He says that we're more worried about kulkula when it's an easy neder, right? The Gemara Maseches Nedarim has many. The second, the third paragraph of Maseches Nedarim talks about the darim that you can be matir by yourself, right? Nidrei onsin, nidrei shkagos. So those types of things, we're worried that he's going to come back and he's going to say the neder was not a neder, and then it was a kilkul. She's going to marry someone else. She's going to have mamzerim. But still, even in the case of chadiras chacham, where you need a matir and neder, they asked her derabanan gzera because you might come to be machzir even in the first type of case. Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Ma'aseh b'Sidon. There was an incident in Sidon. Be'echad Amar li'ishto konim eni megarshecha. I'm answering. The Gemara says I'm answering all the fruits in the world upon myself if I do not divorce you. Basically, he's pledging I'm going to divorce you. And they're girsha, and he went ahead and he followed through. He divorced her. Ve'tir lo chamim. She asked her, "Maybe olam." Even though there was a neder over here, we'll see. Is the husband making a neder? Right? That's what Rabbi Yehuda was talking about. The husband makes a neder. So the Chamim allowed him to remarry. We'll have to explain this end of this mission. The Gemara, it's a little confusing. The Gemara says, Amar Yosef Bar Yumi, Amar of Nachman. The Tanakh meant, Husha Amar la mishum shemra ani motziacha mishum neder ani motziacha. According to the Tanakh, we'll see this Reb Meir, he made a giloi das. He said, while he divorced her, he said, the reason I'm divorcing you is because I suspect you of adultery. Or because you're a woman that takes the dharma upon himself. Men don't like women that take the dharma on themselves, take extra chumras upon themselves. So if he states that, right? So kasavar time of mine mishum kil kula tam mevomanal. If amar la haki sarach matzim makalkala. If lo matzim makalkala. If he makes his gilui das, he tells you why he's being megarisher. So then he can come back to the chacham and he can say, no, I didn't mean to megarish her. Right? I said I was doing it because she suspected of adultery. It turned out she didn't commit adultery, or I no longer suspect her of adultery, or I thought this nadarim would bother me. See, it doesn't bother me. Because if you don't say this, you can't, right? You need a t'nai, right? You have to stipulate something. This is in place of a stipulation. If you don't stipulate it, you can't just go and retroactively annul a divorce. Because the Amri, some say, Amar Rav Yosef Bar Yomi, Amar Rav Nachman, Sarach Shiomer La Hevi Yodas Shemishum Shemra Ani Motziacha Umishum Neder Ani Motziacha. Kasavar Taima Mai Kidei Shali Benois Yisrael Prutos Barayos Uminadorim. Dekal Sarach Lamemer La Haki. According to the second version of Rav Yosef Bar Yomi, the name of Nachman, it has nothing to do with kilkul. It has nothing to do with word. The reason he has to say this is just to show her that it's a knas. It's a knas, right? That he's telling her, I am getting rid of divorcing you because of arayos or because it's in the dar, so that she should realize that that is what caused the divorce, and that's the reason that she can't get remarried. It's sort of a knas to her that she can never get married to the guy because she was lenient in arayos and in darim. Okay, so the Gemara says Tanya Kalishna Kama, Tanya Kalishna Basra. It's a brisa which accords with the first explanation of Rav Nachman and the second explanation of Rav Nachman. Tanya Kalishna Kama, Amar Meir, Mipnei Ma'amru Hamotzi Asishim Mishum Shemra Yachzir, Mishum Nedel Yachzir. Why can't he remarry her? Shema Telech Tinas El Acher. Maybe she'll marry somebody else. V'nimsu Dvarim Badayin. It'll end up that she actually didn't commit adultery. It'll be revealed that. V'yomer, and I'll say, Ilo Yisi Yodeya Shekenhu Afilu Mayu Nosnli Mea Mana Lo Yisi Magar. You have to give me $100,000. I would never divorce my wife. V'nimsa Get Batel Ubanea Mamzerim. The get is retroactively annulled, and her children are mamzerim from the second husband. So they tell him you can no longer get remarried, and as long as they tell him that, he'll despair of giving up hope of ever annulling the marriage, because even if he annuls the marriage, he can't get his wife back. Tanya Galishna Basra. Amar Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yosef Nema Amru Hamotzi Yisrael Mishum Shem Eliachzer Mishum Ned Eliachzer Shleiu Benos Yisrael Prutos Barayos Venadorim. The main reason that he did this gezerah is not like the first price. It's not because we're worried that the children are mamzerim. It's just we don't want women to be in suspicious situations, making a darim or being suspected of adultery. Tell the woman, it's basically knas. It's a fine to tell the woman, the reason you're getting divorced, I know you would love to stay with me, the reason you're getting divorced is because you're not being careful about arayos and adarim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, kol neder sheyad b'rabim lo yachzir v'shelo yad b'rabim yachzir. Rabbi Yehuda argues on Rabbi Meir. It's a different reason. I'm really sure my time with Rabbi Yehuda. What's the reason Rabbi Yehuda? D'chsiv v'lo hikum b'nei Yisrael ki nishbu lahem nesiya eda. It says in Yosefar Yoshua, the Givonim, they knew they were going to be killed by Yoshua and Klal Yisrael, so they made up a story that they came from a distant land and made Yoshua promise them that he wasn't going to destroy them. And they found out they really were Knainim from Eretz Yisrael. But they kept their promise. So you see, and the reason they kept their promise was because it was a neder, Shehudar Das Rabin. The neder, they promised them in front of a lot of people, in front of all Klal Yisrael. So you see that a neder that is done in front of a lot of people, right? You can't annul that neder. Rabbanon, Hasa Michala Rabbanon or Rameir, why doesn't he say it like Rabbi Yehuda? Hasa Michala Shua Alayu Klal. It wasn't because of a neder Shehudar Barabim that you can't annul a neder. Kevan Da'amru Lahu Me'eretz Rechoka Banu V'lo Bo Lo Chai L'Shua Alayu Klal V'Haid Lo Katlinahu Mishum Kedushat Hashem. Really, the truth is that they made a false shvua. They only made a neder to them, assuming what they told them was true, that they're from a distant land and not from Eretz Canaan. But once they found out they were lying to them, the neder doesn't take effect. It's like a nidrei tos. The reason they didn't kill them wasn't because it was a neder shehudar al das rabim. It was because Kiddush Hashem, because it would look bad. They made a promise and then they're reneging on their promise. The Kama Rabbim, what's considered Rabbim according to Yehuda? Rav Nachman Amar Gimel, 3 people. Rav Yitzchak Amar Asar, he says 10 people. Rav Nachman Amar Gimel, Gimel. Why is Gimel? Yomim Beis Rabbim Gimel. It says in the Torah when it's talking about a lot of days, Yomim Rabbim, right? We're talking Rabbim over here, amount of people. Yomim Rabbim, Yomim, the minimum amount of days is Yomim's 2. Rabbim adds 3. Rav Yitzchak Amar Asar, Dechsiv Eda, because here it says Eda. We know by the Meraglim, right? It calls them Eda. Eda, there were 12 Meraglim. 2 of them were not included in Eda Harahazeh, right? Basically, Yoshua and Kalev were excluded, so therefore an Eda is 10 people. Right? Basically, this is echoing what it says in the Mishnah. It says the only reason they answered Sarich, meaning a neder which you have to be matter through a chacham or a beis din, is because the Gzeiro really was about the Eno Sarich, a neder which is easily a nidrei tos, nidrei shkos, which is you don't have to come to a chacham. The might come if what's the argument Rameir and Elazar? Rameir Shavar Adam wrote to Shitbazi each of a beis din. The mayor says a person doesn't care about his wife, right? It's embarrassing for a wife to come from a beis din. You go in front of 3 rabbis, 3 judges. It's embarrassing for her. So a mayor wasn't concerned about that. And therefore, he was worried specifically about a neder that you have to go in front of a beis din and matir. Because that, right, he doesn't plan to be matir, and then he's matir it, so then he can ruin it for his wife. Right? She had no way of, right? She assumed it was a good neder, and then he goes and reverts and takes away the neder. Elazar saw, Elazar never even considered this. If you need chakiros chacham, you have to go on beis din. He would never matter the neder. You have to bring your wife in front of her. She made the neder. You have to bring her in front of the beis din. You're not going to bring her in front of the beis din according to Elazar. The only case we're worried about for kilkel, right? This is in Shitas Rameir for kilkel, that he's going to go ahead and is going to annul the gerushin, is a neder that you can matter yourself. A neder that you go in front of a beis din, that's never going to happen. She's not going to bring her. He's not going to bring her there. Amar Rabbi Yossi Yehuda Maisa B'Sidan, my Tana de Kasani Maisa. Who is the one that's saying Maisa? Who is this a proof for? The Mishnah is missing words. This is what it means to say Medar Amurim Shenadra Hi. It's only when she took the neder. Aval neder Nadar Ihu Yachzir. If he made the neder, he's taking a darim upon himself. Then he could. There's the Takana of Chazal did not apply. But Amar Rabbi Yossi Yehuda Ma'isinan B'Sidan Ve'echad Sh'Amar Le'Ishto Konam Im Einani Megarshaka. I make a neder upon myself. I don't divorce you. V'Girsha, and he went through with it. and He divorced her. Ve'Tir Lo Chakamim She'Achzir Ibnei Tikkun Olam. Chachamim allowed him to remarry her. Ibnei Tikkun Olam. So the Gemara first asks, my top of Memvam and Beis, my Konam. What exactly was he asking? He doesn't say what he asked on himself. Amar Rav Huna, Omer Yasro Kol Peros to Olam Allah Imein Magarshcha. Basically, he's saying, I won't taste any fruits in the world if I don't divorce you. The Mishnah continues. They martyred him to go remarry or pshita. Obviously, Ma'od the same Ligzar Mishum Rav Nasan. Right over here, he made the neder. Right, if he makes the neder, so we said the reason is because the penalty for her that she's making a darim, or right, that the first reason according to a mayor is because if she makes the neder, so then he could matu, he could say, I didn't megarish, I wasn't megarish her, right? If I knew what the extent of the neder was, but if he makes the neder, he can't retract his own neder. So Ma'od Tema Ligzor Mishum Rav Nasan. We should still ask for him to remarry his wife. The Rav Nasan Omer no der kilu bonabam and mekaimo kilu hekrev that korban. The Gemara in Durham says this numerous times that it's very bad taking Durham. If you take a nether, it's like you build a mizbeach outside the base of Mikdash. You're not allowed to do it nowadays, or even in a time when the base of Mikdash was finally rebuilt. And it's even worse if you go ahead and keep your nether. So we might think a person took a neder, we penalize him for doing this avera, and he also can't be mocked. Like we're not worried about that. They tikkun olam, my tikkun olam, ika. What tikkun olam is here when he took the neder? Amar Rav Sheisha is a reisha. Tikkun olam is a reisha, like Rav Meir was talking about. We're worried about kakula, where he's going to go ahead and ruin it for his wife when she remarries. Ravina Mar Olam Sefer really is going on the end of the Mishnah. Right at the end, when he takes a neder, there's no concern of tikkun olam because he can't retroactively annul the gerushin. But as opposed to the reisha, where there was a concern of tikkun olam, and that's why they made a takana that he can no longer remarry her. The Mishnah says, "Amotzias ishto mishum islandus." Rabbi Yehuda omer lo yachzir. Racham omer yachzir. Let's say you find out your your wife is incapable of having children. She's infertile. She can't have children. So, right, technically it's a question in the Rishonim. Are you married or not? Right. Rashi is of the opinion that you're married because even though you know she's an islandess, right, no one is Boel L'Shem Pilas Nus, so even if you knew she was an islandess, you'd be Boel L'Shem Kedusha. But you're not Chayv Ksuba, definitely not Chayv Ksuba to her. Tosas says it was never a marriage to begin with. Rabbi Omer Lo Yachzir. So you get rid of her for that reason. Rabbi says you can't go ahead and remarry her. Chum Omrim Yachzir. We'll see in a second that what happens is she turns out not to be an islandess, she's able to have children. Chum say that they didn't make a takana over here, you could remarry her. And he says, she married somebody else, and it turns out she wasn't an islandess, she had children from him. Now, an islandess is not entitled to a ksuva, but if we find out she's not an islandess, then retroactively she should get a ksuva from her first husband. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Allah, Omer La Shtikusech Yafem Mediburech. Basically, he tells her, don't demand the ksuva, because once you demand the ksuva, right, I'll say, if I would have known you were an islandess, I would have megarish you. And now it turns out that you're still married to me, and your second husband is not your husband, and the children you have them mamzera. So therefore, be quiet, don't get your ksuva. Whereas in this Mishnah, we see Rabbi Yehuda is worried that he's going to annul, right? Here he's going to annul the marriage. Rabbi Yehuda wasn't worried about that in the first Mishnah, the Mishnah about Arayos, about Shemra, or Mishum Nadarim over there. There he was worried, right? He said the reason was Lo Yachzir is a different type of takana because she did something pretty bad because she was suspected of Arayos or she made a neder. Right, she made a neder, a public neder or something like that. So therefore, they didn't allow chazara, but nothing to do with kilkula. According to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no chash that he's going to go ahead and we're not worried he's going to go ahead and annul the get. Yehuda says the reason has nothing to do with that. If it's a public neder, he holds a neder shehudal das rabim. Ein lo hafara. You can't be matir that neder. Once you can't be matir the neder, it's a public neder. It's a stringent thing, so therefore, you can no longer be married. It's a stringent neder done in front of that. You can't be. So then, the one made a knas that you can't remarry such a woman. It had nothing to do with worry that he's going to annul the gerusha. Alma, Rabbanan Chaysha Kukula. Rabbanan, we'll see in a second, is Rab Meir. The Tanakam is Rab Meir. Rabbanan are worried about Kukula. Rehuda lo Chaysha Kukula. And here we see in Tanaka, the Rabbanan and Tanakama in this Mishnah are not worried about Kukula. And Rehuda is. Amar Shmuel Epoch. He says, switch around this Mishnah. Really, the Rabbanan who said the word, you have to worry about Kukula over here. And basically, the Rabbanan say, Shtikusech, tell her, Shtikusech Yafim Dibureh. So where's the Haman County safe? And he's like, not only in the ratio of our Mishnah, right? Rabbi Yehuda says a lo yachzir, but he explains it even more. Rabbi Yehuda is repeated in the sefer of the Mishnah, right? He's the one who says right? He's basically explaining what he's saying in the first part of the Mishnah. It says Rabbi Yehuda twice. Michlal, the Rabbi Yehuda chayash l'kula. Hanami epach. My answer is that also. You switch around. It's really the Rabbanan saying, not Rabbi Yehuda. Abaye Amar. Abaye gives a different answer. La'olam lo seipach. Really, we can resolve it in a different way. We don't have to flip around the shitas. Rabbi Yehuda bahi savar lakar Meir v'savar lakar Belazar. Rabbi Yehuda in this Mishnah he holds like Rabbi Meir on one account. He holds like Rabbi Belazar in a different account. B'sarich savar la k'Rab Elazar, b'sheina sarich savar la k'Rab Meir. Rabbi Yehuda, right? We said Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Meir argue about in the Shitas Rabbanan in the previous Mishnah that are worried about Kalkula that he's going to annul the get, he's going to retroactively void the get. Where do we assume he's going to? What type of neder? Rabbi Meir says a neder with chatkiras chacham, where you're going to go right. If it's a neder that can be annulled right away, she's not going to go ahead and remarry. But if it's a difficult type of neder, she's going to go remarry and I'll avoid the get. So Rabbi Yehuda holds Bisarich Sarvalak Rabbalazar. Sarach meaning a neder that you need to be matir through a basin. He holds like Rabbalazar that a man's not going to bring his wife to basin. So since he's not going to bring his wife to basin, we're not worried that he's going to makalkel her in the first Mishnah. V'sheino Sarach Sarvalak Rab Meir. And a neder that doesn't need hatara Right? He holds like Rameir. Rameir was only worried about Fikiras Chacham. Rameir was never worried about that. That's why in the first Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda was not worried about Kilkul. Amar Rava, the Yehuda Kasha, the Rabbanan Lo Kasha, right? Rabbi Yehuda is a question. The Rabbanan is also a question. We answered for Rabbi Yehuda, we didn't answer for the Rabbanan. Ela Amar Rava, the Yehuda Lo Kasha, Kitashanim, like we just answered. Rabbi Yehuda in the first Mishnah was not worried about Kilkul. Really, he would be worried about Kilkul, but he held like Rabbi Lazar B'tzarech and Rameir. He held like Rameir. He held like Rabbi Lazar B'tzarech and Rameir B'Shein L'Tzarech. The Rabbanan D'Manon Lo Kasha Man Chacham and Rameir. Who is the Chacham? And finally, we find out who the Chacham in Tanakam in the first Mishnah is. That Rameir. The Amar Ba'ina Tanai Kafel. He learned Rameir is famous in Maseches Kedushin and Daf Samach Aleph, where he says that in order to make a Tanai, a valid stipulation in a Kedushin or any type of transaction, right, to make it dependent on something, and if that thing doesn't happen, then the whole deal or the whole Kedushin or the whole Gittin is batel, you need a Tanai Kafel. We learn out from Bnei Gad, Bnei Reuven. There's a list of things. One of them is you need a Tanai Kafel. You have to say both if it happens, right? If I give you $100, then we're Megoreshas. If I didn't give you $100, we're not Megoreshas. You have to speak out both ways. The reason the Rabbanan in this Mishnah about islandness were not worried about Kakula is because he didn't make a Tanai Kafel. So what about the first Mishnah? Obviously the first Mishnah on Daf Mem Hamid Beis was talking about where he did make a Tanai Kafel. Now if he made a Tanai Kafel, so the question arises, if he did make a Tanai Kafel on the first Mishnah, so then obviously, right, we should be worried. Obviously, we should be worried that he's going to be annul his gerushin. I mean, if he makes a Tanai Kafel, so the gerushin is batel me'ela. We don't have to worry that he's going to make a takana that he shouldn't be machzir his wife, right? To prevent him from that. If he makes a Tanai Kafel, it's very easy to go ahead and to remarry. The gerushin is batel. The gerushin is batel, and she's a mom, and she's a mamzeres. And her children are mamzerim. So that's the question that the Rishonim leave off with over here at the end of this, right before the Mishnah over here on Mem Vav and Beis. What do you do at the end of the day if we assume that Rameir, that the Rabbanan is Rav Meir in this Mishnah, and he didn't make a Tanai Kafel, but in the previous Mishnah he did make a Tanai Kafel. So what's the whole discussion over there? I'll try to answer that question. Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.